The year was 1865, and the frontier was a land of promise wrapped in peril. Dust clung to everything: the wagon wheels, the horses' manes, and the hems of 3 women's skirts that had once been white and stitched with hope. Now they were brown with filth, the lace torn and crusted. Wind moaned low across the prairie, rattling dry weeds and the bones of trees long dead. Somewhere far behind them, Missouri was just a memory. Somewhere ahead, their future waited. 3 promised husbands, 3 cabins, and a new life. Or so they'd been told. Clara sat at the reins, her hands blistered and raw, though she'd never let the reins go. She was 27 and had known enough of men to trust them no further than she could throw a horseshoe. Her gray eyes, stormy and sharp, scanned the horizon, distrust simmering just beneath her weary calm. In the back of the wagon, Eliza and June clung to each other for warmth. Eliza was the dreamer. 24 and full of poetry and soft sighs, she still clutched the letter from her supposed suitor, written in sweeping hand, full of fine words and flowery lies. She read it at night like a prayer, as if ink could build a home around them. June, only 19, barely spoke anymore. Her blue eyes had dulled since Kansas. Her laughter had vanished near Nebraska. And now, as they rode into the unknown, she pressed her cheek to Eliza's shoulder and mouthed silent pleas that no one heard. They hadn't seen a town in 2 days. Not a house, not a road sign, only endless grass and a thinning trail that no longer seemed to point anywhere at all. The sun was slipping behind a ridge when Clara finally spotted smoke, thin and gray, rising from a crooked chimney. Relief came hard and fast, like a sob caught in the throat. "There," she said, voice hoarse. "We found it." Eliza sat up straight. "Is it them? Do you think it's them?" Clara didn't answer. She didn't want to crush what little hope her sister still had. The wagon clattered up a dry hill, past a crumbling fence and a barn that leaned like it had been punched in the gut. The trading post squatted low on the land, a log building with a rough plank porch and a single door hanging off its hinge. A lantern flickered behind its greasy window. Horses whinnied somewhere out back, but no other signs of life stirred. Clara pulled the wagon to a stop. "Stay here." Eliza climbed down anyway, smoothing her skirt, cheeks flushed with anticipation. "I want to see him first." Clara hesitated, then nodded. "Fine, but stay close." June didn't move. She just stared at the ground, her fingers knotted tight. The door creaked open before they could knock. A man stepped out, tall, thin, and shirtless despite the chill. A rifle hung loose in one hand. His beard was patchy and gray-streaked, and his eyes held the kind of emptiness Clara had seen in dead deer strung up for skinning. "Well, I'll be," he said, spitting a long stream of tobacco onto the porch. "Ain't you 3-something? "We're here for," Eliza began, but Clara cut her off. "We were told this was the meeting place for grooms from the homestead listings in St. Louis." The man grinned. 3 more men filtered out behind him. One leaned on a post, chewing a matchstick. Another wore a Union coat, too small for his thick arms. The last one, youngest, didn't speak, just stared with bloodshot eyes that flicked over the sisters like picking meat from bone. "I reckon that's what you were told," the first man said, stepping down the porch. His boots thudded on the dry boards. "But that's not what we're here for." Eliza blinked. "Then where are our husbands?" "Husbands," the youngest echoed with a chuckle. "Ain't that sweet?" Clara moved in front of her sisters. "This isn't what was agreed. We got contracts. Letters." The man with the Union coat laughed, so hard he bent over. "Contracts," he wheezed. "Hell, girl, you think contracts matter out here? What do you want from us?" Clara asked, voice flat and dangerous. The man's grin twisted. "Nothing much. Already took your coin. Sold you off once. Can sell you again." He nodded, and the youngest lunged forward, seizing Clara by the arm. She struck him with her elbow, but a boot caught her in the ribs. Eliza screamed. June bolted, but tripped on her skirts. A rifle fired into the sky, silencing everything. "Get him in the shed," the leader barked. "We'll deal with him proper, come morning." They were dragged like cattle. June cried. Eliza fought until her hands bled. Clara bit the man's hand and got backhanded so hard her ears rang. The shed was dark and reeked of manure and old blood. A rusted lock clicked behind them. Then silence. Heavy, hollow silence. Clara lay on her side, tasting copper. Eliza pressed June to her chest, both shaking. No stars shone through the cracks in the wall. Just wind and wood and the slow creep of terror. I told you, Clara whispered through her split lip. Men like that don't send love letters. We'll get out, Eliza said. We have to. No one answered. Morning came cruel and cold. The shed door flew open. The same men stood there, grinning like wolves around a kill. Time to go, darlings. No food, no water, just rough hands dragging them up, shoving them toward the tree line. Their wagon was gone, stripped for parts. The horses, too. They were marched deep into the woods, feet tripping over roots and brambles. Clara tried to count their steps. Maybe they could retrace them. Maybe. The man stopped. This here's far enough, he said. Now walk that way. He pointed east. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't come back. Clara stepped forward. You'll leave us here? With nothing. He raised his rifle and fired a shot over her head. The echo cracked through the trees like thunder. Start walking. Clara didn't flinch, but Eliza whimpered. June turned and ran. Another shot cracked, closer this time. Go! They ran. Branches tore their skin. Cold air stabbed their lungs. They ran until the gunshots were gone, until the men's laughter faded like ghosts into the woods. Then they stopped, collapsed, panting, shivering, bleeding. Eliza's ankle gave out. Clara pulled her up. June sobbed, mud smeared across her cheeks. The woods around them were endless and unfamiliar. Clara pulled them into a shallow hollow beneath an old pine, half-rotted and leaning. It wasn't shelter, but it was something. I'll find water, she said. Her voice was iron, even now. No, Eliza pleaded. Don't leave us. I won't go far. She didn't make it more than 50 feet before she dropped to her knees. Her body shook, not from cold, but fury. White-hot, burning in her chest. Rage at the men. Rage at herself. Rage that she hadn't seen it coming. That she'd brought her sisters here. That she believed they'd be safe. When she returned, Eliza had wrapped June in her shawl and was humming a tune from childhood. Clara didn't say a word. Just sat, stared into the trees like they'd offer answers. By dusk, the wind had picked up. A storm was coming. She could feel it in her bones, in the way the animals had gone quiet. Thunder growled low, distant. Trees swayed, whispering warnings in a language none of them understood. Then came the bear, a black shape at the tree line, its eyes glinting. It sniffed the air, took a step forward, sniffed again. Clara rose slowly, holding nothing but a thick branch. Eliza screamed. June froze. The bear growled low in its throat, teeth flashing white. Clara stood between it and her sisters. Go, she said without turning. If it charges, run. No, Eliza whimpered. Clara, don't. The bear took another step. Then came the whistle of air. An arrow struck the ground at the bear's feet. The creature reared, snarled, and turned, vanishing into the trees with a crash of branches. The sisters turned. A man stood in the shadows. Tall, silent, wrapped in deerskin and wind. A bow still raised in one hand, eyes sharp as obsidian. A Lakota warrior. He stepped forward slowly, his gaze passing over each of them. He said nothing, just knelt and touched the dirt where the bear had stood. Then he looked up, into Clara's eyes. She did not lower her stick. You saved us, she said. Still, he said nothing. Eliza stood. Do you speak English? A pause. Then, little, can you help us? He glanced at the storm clouds above, then back to them. He gestured, follow. Clara hesitated. Eliza grabbed her hand. Please. June didn't speak. She just got up and followed. So Clara did, too. They walked into the woods behind him, hearts pounding, feet numb. The storm broke behind them. Rain fell in sheets. The warrior led them through trees like a ghost. And for the first time in days, they were not alone. Whatever came next, Clara thought, it could not be worse than what they'd escaped. Or so she hoped. The Lakota warrior led them through the storm like he'd been born of wind and pine. Silent as the rain, swift as the shadows. The sisters followed, soaked to the bone, skirts heavy with mud and fear. Clara kept a tight grip on Eliza's hand, dragging her through the thick brush, while June staggered close behind. No one spoke. There was only breath and thunder and the rhythmic beat of moccasins on damp earth. He stopped near dawn. A ridge sloped upward ahead, and beyond it, a hush fell over the world, a kind of sacred stillness broken only by the fire smoke curling through the trees. The village, dozens of painted lodges, stood in a wide circle around a central fire, their hides shimmering in the soft morning rain. Children peeked out from behind woven flaps. Women froze mid-motion with bowls and bundles in hand, and warriors turned with unreadable faces. Eyes narrowed, hands hovered near knives. Clara instinctively stepped in front of her sisters. The Lakota man raised his hand once. No words, just a gesture, and the tension in the air shifted. From one of the larger lodges stepped a figure draped in furs and bone beads. His face was deeply lined, his black hair streaked with silver, and his stare carved straight through Clara's composure. The warrior who'd saved them murmured something low and soft. The elder listened, glanced at the sisters, then nodded once. He turned to Clara. "You may stay, but this land remembers. It does not forget." Clara opened her mouth, but nothing came out. They were led to a small, half-emptied lodge on the edge of the village. Blankets were laid. A bowl of dried berries and water was placed before them. The warrior who had saved them entered last. He untied his bow, laid it down, and finally spoke. "My name is Chaska." Clara studied him. "I'm Clara. These are my sisters, Eliza and June." He nodded. "Rest, then speak." They did rest, though not well. The wind never stopped whispering through the village, and the sisters couldn't shake the eyes they felt on them. Watchful, waiting, like the land itself was judging whether they'd been worth saving. When they woke, the sun had broken through the clouds, gold against the wet grass. A girl no older than 10 brought them flatbread and smoked meat. She did not smile. She only stared, wide-eyed, and left without a word. "Do you think they hate us?" Eliza whispered, tearing the bread with shaking fingers. "I think they don't know what to do with us," Clara said. "Same as we don't know what to do with them." "Chaska saved our lives," June said suddenly. Her voice was small but steady. "He didn't have to." They all turned to look at her. Clara softened. "No, he didn't." Later that morning, they were brought to a gathering circle where the 3 men who had greeted them before now sat cross-legged with several others. Chaska stood to one side, arms folded, calm as a stone. One of the men rose, tall, thick-shouldered, with a scar running from temple to jaw. He didn't look at the sisters. He looked through them. "My name is Tate," he said. "You are here because Chaska says you belong." I do not yet believe him. "We didn't ask to be here," Clara said evenly. "Then leave," Tate snapped. "The forest has more wolves." A low voice spoke from beside him. Another man, younger, gentler in manner, rose. "The spirits brought them to us," he said. "They carry pain, but they do not bring it." He turned to Eliza with a small nod. "I am Wakasa." Clara met his eyes, then Chaska's. "We won't stay where we're not welcome. We'll work. We'll help. We're not helpless." Tate scoffed. "We'll see." And so they stayed. Clara took to labor like it was a weapon. She learned to gather roots, to grind corn, to stack firewood with aching arms. She matched the Lakota women's pace, never asked questions, never whined. Chaska watched her, often from a distance, sometimes from across the fire at night. His silence wasn't cold. It was curious. He had the look of someone who'd seen too much to speak easily. And Clara respected that. She didn't ask what haunted him. He didn't ask what broke her. Eliza was drawn to Wakasa's gentleness like a bee to blossom. He showed her how to make dye from crushed berries and flute songs that mimicked the cry of hawks. She began to laugh again, softly, cautiously, but it was laughter all the same. June lingered near the lodge, afraid of the world beyond its flap. She'd flinch at any sudden noise, slept with a stick in hand. But one day, she followed a group of children to the riverbank, where they were weaving cattails into baskets. Tate, seated beneath a pine with his arms crossed, saw her watching and tossed her a strip of reed. She caught it. He nodded. She stayed. Days bled into one another. Nights came colder, but something within them was beginning to thaw. Then came the tracks. They were found just beyond the eastern ridge, fresh horse prints. Deep, heavy, and more than one. Chaska stood at the edge of the trail, crouching low, fingers brushing the disturbed soil. Clara watched him from the rise above. "What is it?" she asked. He looked up, eyes narrowed. "Not ours. White men. For maybe 5. Clara's stomach turned. "They found us. We do not know yet. You don't have to lie to spare me. They came to finish it." Chaska didn't answer. He rose, slung his bow over his shoulder, and strode off into the woods. That night, the drums did not play. Warriors sharpened blades beneath the moon. Horses were tethered closer, and the fire in the center of camp burned higher than usual. Clara did not sleep. She sat with her sisters, staring into the flames, trying not to hear the old thoughts creeping in. The helpless ones, the ones that whispered how fragile this peace had been, how easily it would snap. Eliza knelt beside Wakasa, who was polishing the edge of a flint blade. "Will they come here?" "Maybe," he said gently, "but we will be ready." June was staring at the trees again, clutching her blanket. "They'll take us again. They'll hurt us again." "No," Clara said. "Not this time." The next morning, Chaska returned. "There were 6, he said. 2 wore blue coats. 1 had a limp." Clara's eyes burned. "That's them. I remember the limp. They are looking. 1 mile east now. Maybe closer tonight." Tate spat in the dirt. "We should strike first." The chief emerged from his lodge, slow, deliberate, each step heavy with decision. He said something in Lakota. The others bowed their heads. Then he looked to the sisters. "You will remain in the center of the camp," Chaska translated. "If they come, we will protect you." Clara straightened. "No." The word hung in the air like a challenge. "I'm not hiding. Not again. If this fight comes to your home because of us, then we fight too." Tate stared at her. Wakasa smiled faintly. Chaska nodded. "Then we fight together." They prepared that night, sharpening arrows, knotting traps in the brush, laying branches across narrow paths to slow the horses. Clara trained with Chaska, learning to throw a small blade, to duck under a swinging club. She moved stiffly, but with purpose. "Good," he said, tossing her a water skin. "Teach me more tomorrow." "There may not be a tomorrow." "Then I'll learn tonight." Later, they stood by the river as the last light drained from the sky. The water rushed, wild and dark. Clara dipped her hands into it, let the cold bite her palms. "I'm sorry," she said. Chaska raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "For coming here. For bringing trouble to your people." He shook his head. "You brought nothing. The trouble follows all of us." She turned to him. "Why did you help us?" He didn't answer for a long time. Then, "Because I know what it is to be hunted, and to be saved." In the stillness, Clara reached for his hand. He let her. The dawn broke red. Birds scattered. Horses whinnied. And the first shot rang out. It was distant, but too near to be comfort. The sisters were ushered to the central lodge. The warriors moved out in silence, spreading through the trees. Clara was about to follow when Chaska appeared beside her. "Stay here. I can help. You help by living." Then he was gone. They waited. Each breath a hammer blow. A second shot. Closer. Eliza clutched June's hand. "Don't think about it. Just breathe." Then a scream. Short, sharp. A third gunshot. The camp erupted. Clara ran. She didn't think. Her feet moved before her fear could catch up. She burst from the lodge, spotted Tate grappling a man near the horses. Wakasa dragged another toward the fire pit, knife flashing. She ducked as a bullet tore past. Behind her, a white man raised his rifle. Then Chaska was there, silent, fast. The man turned, too late. The bowstring snapped. The settler fell. Blood steamed in the morning chill. Clara dropped beside Eliza, pulling her from the line of fire. "We hold the center," she yelled. The last 2 attackers broke through the west line. One saw Clara, grinned, recognized her. "Well, look who—" He never finished. An arrow split his throat. Silence settled like snow. One by one, the bodies were dragged away. 2 warriors wounded. 1 gone, but the sisters lived. The fire roared again that night, not in fear, but in remembrance. Eliza sang. June laughed for the first time. Clara stood beside Chaska, hand still in his. "You fight well," he said. "I had good reason. You have more than one now." She looked at her sisters alive. At the fire. At the village. Then at him. "Yes," she said. "I do." And though dawn had not yet come, for the first time in weeks, she felt the warmth return. The wind shifted before the sun rose. A cold, creeping gust rolled down the ridge like a warning whispered from the bones of the earth. In the hush before dawn, even the birds held their breath. Fog snaked low along the treetops, curling through the brush like the breath of something watching. Clara felt it before she saw anything. Her skin tightened, her jaw clenched. She stood beside Chaska at the village edge, her fingers wrapped around the hilt of the small knife he had given her days ago. Behind them, the camp waited, silent, ready. Tate crouched atop a rocky ledge with his bow drawn. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. Not until the first crack of a branch echoed in the distance. "They're here," he said. From the mist came shadows, mounted men, slow-moving, guns held loosely, but eyes alert. The same leering faces Clara remembered from that trading post hell. The man with the limp rode, near the front, scanning the camp like a wolf, sniffing for weakness. There were 6 of them, maybe more. Clara swallowed her fear. "They think we're just women," she muttered. Chaska didn't look at her. "They think wrong." The first shot rang out. Sharp, jarring. A crack through the stillness that shattered the moment like glass. The lead settler's hat flew from his head. Tate's arrow had missed by inches, a warning shot. But the others didn't wait. They kicked their heels into their horses and charged. Chaos erupted. Eliza grabbed June and pulled her toward the central lodge. "Stay low," she shouted. Children cried. Women screamed. Warriors emerged from the smoke with blades and bows, meeting the attackers head-on. Clara didn't run. She turned, heart pounding, and followed Chaska into the fight. A settler lunged at her, rifle swinging like a club. She ducked, stumbled, slashed his thigh with her knife. He howled and fell back. Another arrow, Tate's, struck him clean through the shoulder. Gunshots cracked. Horses screamed. Clara caught glimpses of Wakasa, fending off 2 men with nothing but a spear. One slammed the butt of his rifle into Wakasa's side, and he went down. Eliza shrieked and ran forward. "Eliza!" Clara called, but it was too late. Eliza dropped to her knees beside him, shielding his body with her own as a settler raised his weapon again. And then he stopped. Not by choice. Chaska's tomahawk buried itself in the man's chest with a sickening thud. Eliza gasped, Wakasa groaned, and Clara felt something twist deep inside her. Not fear. Not yet. Something older. Rage. She turned as another settler charged her, but Chaska stepped between them. The 2 men clashed hard, Chaska dodging the rifle, swinging his blade in tight, practiced arcs. Clara didn't stand back. She moved, a knife in the side of the settler's knee. He crumpled, screaming, and Chaska finished it with one clean strike. Blood soaked the ground. The fog turned red. Near the center of the village, June cowered behind a fire pit as a settler stalked toward a small child hiding behind a clay jar. June looked between the man and the child, then down at the stone in her hand. She didn't think. She threw. The rock struck the man just behind the ear. He snarled and turned on her. That was his last mistake. Tate burst from the smoke, tackling the man with a growl like a bear. They rolled, fists flying, until Tate slammed the settler's face into the dirt. Once, twice, 3 times, until he didn't move. June stared, trembling. Tate looked at her. "You saved him." June blinked. I just... He grabbed her wrist. "You're stronger than you think, little sister." She didn't protest the word. Not this time. The final gunman, the one with the limp, made for the chief's lodge, where 2 elders had been hidden. Clara spotted him just before he fired. "Chaska!" she screamed, pointing. Chaska ran, leapt, caught the man mid-stride. They wrestled in the mud, boots slipping. The gun fired once, missed. The limp-legged settler pulled a knife, slashed wildly. It caught Chaska in the ribs. He grunted, clenched his teeth. Clara ran to them, heart hammering. The settler had Chaska pinned. Clara threw herself onto the man's back, driving her blade into his shoulder. He screamed, twisted, struck her across the face, but she held on, gritting her teeth, stabbing again. And then Chaska surged upward with a final roar, driving his own blade through the man's chest. Silence followed, just for a moment. Then the moans of the wounded returned, the crackle of burning huts, the rustle of warriors gathering the fallen. Clara knelt beside Chaska, blood on her hands, his and the settler's both. He touched her arm. "You fought," he rasped. "You taught me," she said. He smiled just barely. They bound his wound, set guards at every trail, and buried the dead under the old pine by sunset. 3 Lakota had fallen. 4 settlers lay in the woods, broken and cold. The other 2 had fled into the hills. The battle was done, but the weight lingered. That night, the fire burned low. The village was quiet, reverent, grieving and grateful both. Clara sat beside Chaska near the edge of the river, where the water ran black and cold beneath the moon. She cleaned the blood from her blade, hand steady now. "I thought I was lost," she said quietly. Chaska watched the water. "Then we are both found." In the firelight behind them, Eliza sat beside Wikasa's bed, holding his hand gently as he slept. His wound had not been deep, but the bruises would take weeks to fade. She pressed a kiss through his fingers, then leaned close. "Don't you dare leave me. I just found you." Wikasa stirred, eyes opening. "I wouldn't," he whispered. "Not for all the spirits in the wind." She smiled through her tears. "Then I'm yours." Across the fire, Tate sat sharpening a blade, and June approached, holding something in her palm. A smooth red string. He looked up. "What's that?" he asked, frowning. June held it out, hands trembling. "To remind me I'm not weak." Tate studied her for a long time. Then he took the string and tied it carefully around her wrist. "You ain't," he said. "Not anymore." No vows were spoken that night. No ceremonies. No dresses or dances. Just firelight and quiet promises. Just truth. The next morning, Chaska approached Clara where she knelt by the river, filling a water skin. He held something in his palm. A pendant, carved from antler, shaped like a bear's paw, smooth and warm from his touch. "Not to own you," he said. "To honor you." Clara took it, wore it, and didn't speak. For once, words weren't needed. Later, Wikasa gave Eliza his flute, now etched with her name. She pressed it to her heart, and they said nothing at all. And Tate? He handed June a knife. She blinked. "I don't know how to fight." He grinned. "Then I'll teach you." They stood on the ridge that evening, all 3 sisters, watching the sun burn orange over the endless hills. Below, the village moved slowly, mending, rebuilding, healing. They had come west looking for husbands. What they found was family. Clara turned to her sisters. "We came to be brides," she said, "and we became something else entirely." June smiled. "We became free." And Eliza? She just looked toward the village, where Wikasa waited with firewood and a song. They would never be the same, but they were not broken. And as the last light faded, the narrator's voice returned, quiet, reflective, shaped like the wind itself. So what we take from this tale? That love doesn't always look like it's supposed to. Sometimes it finds you bruised, broken, but not beaten. Sometimes it's not a white dress. It's a red string, a carved pendant, a flute in a calloused hand. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. And remember, sometimes the frontier gives more than it takes.